Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
And what's it gonna do?
It doesn't matter how you're doing. Woo! Wheeling, dealing, limousine right, jet flying.
Can you dig it, sucker?
Would you please shut the hell up?
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the human rumble.
What up, what up? Welcome to episode 128 of Keep the Kayfabe. I'm Mike, sitting here with my boys, ready to talk some wrestling. I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. I know I did. It was really, really nice. Weather was beautiful. And we had a great pay-per-view of AEW Double or Nothing taking place this past Sunday in Las Vegas. Last week, we did our prediction show where we ran down the card and submitted our picks, and we're going to share the results with you tonight. But before we do, we got to introduce the boys real quick. He's down in Glendale. He likes to keep it regal. His name is Steve Grobschmidt. What up, Grabby?
I think I'm cute. I know I'm sexy.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the looks that drive the girls wild. I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy. Sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy.
Stop.
I'm not your boy toy.
Boy toy.
I'm just a sexy boy.
Sexy boy.
I'm not your boy toy.
Boy toy.
Okay.
Oh my God, Steve. That could have been in a romance novel, to be quite honest, if you were the audio book reader for books on tape or something like that. I think you got a future there, bro.
I'm thinking about it.
It's
a little risque though.
It was something.
Yeah, it might be a little bit. We probably need the explicit rating now.
We're going to switch up the order here since you already heard the man's voice. It's kind of cute that you guys had that little chemistry going on. He's down in Ohio. He's the man with the golden pipes. He is Gary Williams. What up, Gary?
Needs allow me to introduce myself. Been around for a long, long year.
Well, I was a little disappointed that we didn't hear my song for MJF, but he did wear the devil mask. I was very pleased. So it was good. It was good stuff. But yeah, I'm here. I'm excited. Thanks for having me again.
I love how
for sure.
The Rolling Stones music you played, it's like you could only hear the vocals. That was great.
So big. I was around when Jesus had it going down with me.
I personally kind of like the shitty audio quality.
It's just going downhill in a hurry.
I find it charming.
No problem.
He's not getting. Can we cut him off?
Yeah.
Go ahead, cut me off.
Oh, cut you off.
Fire me. I'm already fired.
Woo! Fire me. I'm already fired.
How was your Memorial Day weekend, Gary?
Oh, it was really good. Thanks for asking. Warm here in Ohio. But yeah, we had a good weekend. I thought it was an awesome weekend of wrestling. And I actually hope that we will spend just even a few moments on the WWE pay-per-view as well, because I do think there's some really cool stuff that happened there. Really? But I know our focus is on AEW tonight. And the next most important focus is on Crusher Fest, which I'm sad to say I won't be with you there physically, but I will be there in spirit.
Definitely.
Disguised as the devil.
We will represent you well there, Gary, and good to hear, man. And yeah, our next co-host, he's got more details on that for us right after we introduce him. He's the man who keeps it freshly squeezed. His name is Matt Michelson. What up, Matt? How are you?
I am fantastic. Thanks for asking. Yeah, Crusher Fest this weekend, June 3rd and 4th, Saturday and Sunday. Keep the Kayfabe will definitely be there, 4 p.m., I think. Wrestling starts at 6 p.m., which is going to be exciting. So we would imagine we'd be there a little bit before that. Maybe we'll have some special guests on the show. It's what we've all been waiting for. This is the WrestleMania of Keep the Kayfabe. And actually, we have a special guest here to chime in with his thoughts. Randy Macho Man Savage has just joined me here in the studio. Randy, are you excited for Crusher Fest this weekend?
Oh, yeah, Crusher Fest. It gets me hot. It gets me to the breaking point. Yeah.
Wow.
Reincarnated.
I didn't think that was possible.
I didn't either, but yeah, thanks, Randy, for dropping in. Okay, yeah.
If the Macho Man is coming back from the grave to go to Crusher Fest, you better be there too, folks.
You better listen to Keep the Kayfabe. That's going to be an exclusive interview.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Looks like the weather is amazing. They get a lot of great food trucks in there. They have music. It's in legendary South Milwaukee where Gary and Grabby actually grew up and ran a little what do you call? Buckshot? Ram shot?
Rough
Down
shot.
there? What do you run down? Rough shot.
Oh, yeah.
There's the word.
We were, well, of course, Steve went to a different high school than I did, but the high school I went to, we were the Rockets. So I think you guys are going to literally take off this weekend
wow.
with a great opportunity to speak to some legends and then also see some really cool independent wrestling. I think it's a really cool culmination of just a good remembrance of the Crusher and all that he did, because in a lot of ways, and stuff we've talked about here on the show, I think, that old school flair is, still really viable today, as probably seen in the AEW pay-per-view, a lot of old school homages that happened during the Four Pillars match, other things. So I think that it's a great opportunity for fans, not only to relive the past, but to also be excited about the future of wrestling.
I feel like there's an opportunity here to pull a rib on Marty Jannetty if we run into him. Just be like, hey, you go to high school in South Milwaukee because you were in the tag team named after the mascot, right? The Rockets?
That's right. Oh, yeah, baby.
I don't know how he'd take it. Maybe we'll find out. We'll see.
I don't know, man.
It's a good icebreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll bring a barbershop window and put him through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would work too.
Definitely. Or we could say we got a lot of money and he'll probably do anything we want.
That's very true.
Well, speaking of money, Double or Nothing was happening in Las Vegas this past weekend, and that's AEW's huge pay-per-view. It was well attended. The crowd was hot. And we got to run down a bunch of matches tonight here, guys. Charlie won't be joining us because he has an underwear modeling gig once again. But Matt was actually in Las Vegas. Matt, did you see any AEW T-shirts walking around on the strip, or that you bumped into people that were taking in a long weekend, got there a little early?
I was shocked I did not see anyone. It's funny. So I was actually traveling for work with my wife, Becky, and we were there. We flew in on Tuesday and we left Saturday late afternoon. So anybody I think that was in town for the pay-per-view may have gotten in on Saturday. I know that they also hosted Dynamite this week. I think it was on Wednesday. So there were some folks who were there for the entire week, but strangely, no, walking down the strip, no AEW t-shirts in sight. It was mind-blowing to me. I almost forgot the pay-per-view was even happening. I flew back, like I said, Saturday night, did a bunch of stuff around the house Sunday during the day, totally forgot until maybe 30 minutes before the end of the pre-show that the pay-per-view was happening. So thankfully I was able to tune in on time and catch it because it was a doozy, as we'll hear.
Fucking A. Awesome stuff. Well, welcome home. Let's get to the matches.
Let's do that.
We did have one that didn't make the main card, and we all kind of picked it. It was the Hardy Boys with Hook versus was it the Guns and
Ethan Page for Ethan Page's contract.
Right. So, anything shake out significant with that we need to get to real quick?
It wasn't. Jeff Hardy kind of messed up a couple times, and it wasn't great. I mean, the good news is the crowd was the crowd loves the Hardys. So, even despite it all, they're over like Rover. But I would say, given the talent involved, it was kind of what it was.
I agree with you, Steve. This was another time, though, as much as, again, you know, as much as I know Hook is over, he is really starting to show his inability to kind of perform at a level that's beyond just some basic wrestling moves and holds. And I do think, it's admirable the way that they're kind of carrying him right now. And I think he's a larger than life persona. But, again, it's a match like this where you're like, okay, another veal throw, another this, and it's just kind of the same old, same old. And, but I do think Ethan Page was amazing as a great heel.
Yeah.
The Ass Boys are actually also really good. I think that they do bring that element of old school kind of heat to a match. And like you said, Steve, I think Jeff and Matt Hardy could slip all the way down the ramp and the people still love them. And I just feel for Jeff Hardy. Like it's scary kind of watching him and sometimes in the ring and just wondering to yourself, like, oh my gosh, like I hope he's okay. But then again, like, he's just a wild card right now. And I know that they're trying to do the right thing by helping him out during this period of time. I just hope that he is smart enough to end his career on a high note and not have something happen that will kind of detract from that. I don't know.
That's a good way to say it.
Very
and I
well
think that's
said,
why
Gary.
we're kind of echoing what fans feel. It's like, he's kind of slipping up a little. He's had his things off screen, but you just pull for the guy because he just, he's an all timer.
Dude,
So
when that music is thumping, like we were in Milwaukee when oh my God, like it's so infectious, like their appeal, the way people rally around them. And and we've all noticed Jeff Hardy now, his swanton bomb is landing more on top of guys. I mean, that can't feel good for whoever's accepting the blow. And it's just, I do think in general it's an okay match to start to get the crowd hot, but I just don't think it got them fired up. And then in the end, it's Hook with the win. Like that just didn't really. It would have made more sense for Matt to be the one to do something, right?
Because it was his feud.
It was his feud, but they gave it to Hook, and it's like,
Based on a little bit I've heard, that sounds pretty spot on. I heard a little bit about Jeff Hardy's mess up, I guess you could call it. Like there was some question as to whether did he really botch it or was it intentional. I don't know enough. I didn't see the match, unfortunately, but yeah, it's an unfortunate way to kind of lead up to the main show.
Although, to segue into, I thought that the introduction of all the guys for the Battle Royal was an amazing, not because
that was clever.
Not because most of us picked the Battle Royal to start the show, but with that being said, I do think it was really clever and a really great way to kind of like showcase the guys, but then also entice fans to want to buy the pay-per-view.
That's good booking.
Yeah, that's good booking.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Yes. With that being said, everybody did pick the Battle Royale to be the opening match to start the pay-per-view, and they all did pick Orange Cassidy to be the victor. I did not pick that to be the opening match, nor did I pick Orange Cassidy, so I lost 2 points right there. But so this Battle Royal, it sounded like everybody got showcased pretty effectively.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk a little bit about this match, and Gary, Steve, obviously share your thoughts. I was not involved in the predictions, so I can definitely do a quick rundown, though. Basically, I don't think I'm alone when I say this was probably one of the best booked Battle Royals that AEW for sure has ever done. The stories that developed within the match itself were great. There were some phenomenal spots. I think some guys were fighting outside the ring even before, like when the match had started, before they were even able to get in the ring, which was kind of cool. I personally have never seen that in a Battle Royal before, so it was kind of something unique for me. JR didn't seem too keen on it on commentary, but I could take or leave JR, I think, at this point for a multitude of reasons. But
yeah, he didn't have a great night.
no, definitely not. But
not the least which was the racism, but
well, he did call Karen Jarrett a Jezebel at one point, which
yeah.
cracked me up. But it's like, okay, Jim, come on. But anyway, getting back to the match, yeah, like I said, just really well booked. So many spots. I mean, I could go on all night about this. I'm not going to because I want to hear from the guys. But yeah, I thought this was a fantastic way to start the pay-per-view. The result was, I think, somewhat predictable. I'm really curious where they go from here, though.
I remember when I was a little kid, I used to love battle royals for some reason. I think because of the spectacle of it. But now that I'm an adult and I've seen enough of them, I don't even look forward to them half the time. And I'll admit, this one, it was like, okay, Mike picked Jay White, and we picked Orange Cassidy. And honest to God, there was no one else that could even be a credible pick because it was mid to upper mid carders. It was almost like a throw-in thing. But it turned out really good. And I thought, yeah, they showcased, there were people that came out of this really good that needed it. Brian Cage, what they call him, Big Bill. Big Bill had a great night.
He did.
And I think Brian Cage had a great night. And I mean, they just Swerve, my God, I mean, he's been kind of lost in this never-ending feud with Keith Lee that it's like, get it over with already. But man, he had a night. So no, I thought it was one of the best battle royals I've certainly seen in a long time. And yeah, I mean, we can talk about it. I mean, I continue to give the exact same prediction until I'm proven wrong that I think Orange is doing this heroic run so that somebody can beat him on Collision. And I think, someone like, to me, it'll be either Miro or Andrade. But man, it's just, yeah, this was a fun one. It's a good start to the main show.
Yeah, you guys hit a lot of the things that really were critical in terms of its entertainment value. And battle royals in of themselves are fairly stale, which is why you've got Royal Rumble formats, you've got the Casino Battle Royal format. I think that's probably why they tinkered with this format a little bit too, because I think they know like it is what it is. So the fact that guys were all around the ring and then started brawling, it was a little, I guess maybe as an old school guy, I was like, come on, man, like get in the ring, let's go. But then again, like it was just another way for the match to involve chaos and have guys going everywhere. But I loved what they did with Big Bill. I really, I genuinely had a moment where I thought, oh man, he's really come into his own. We talk about this, but everybody's supposed to have their place in a wrestling organization, right? And I think Big Bill and Lee Moriarty represent kind of that. It's not slapstick, but it's not a comedy act, but they do kind of like they're just kind of that mid-card bad heel tag team that gets enough in to make to really create good babyface interaction. And then all of a sudden, inevitably something always happens. I mean, at House Rules, Big Bill went right through a chair, and then so a lot of those types of spots, I think Big Bill is in the same situation here. He comes across so massive, so strong, and then he gets knocked out. I think it would be remiss if we didn't point out the luchadors in this one as well. I mean, the chemistry that they showed, it was pretty amazing. Like it just shows further depth of the roster in comparison to what you might see on a WWE program, which they use Rey Mysterio and Dominic to some degree, but real luchadors, they really don't have that type, and really brilliant stuff. But in the end, yes, Orange is what it is. We said this in the text thread. I don't have to like it. I can respect it. I'm just growing. My Orange Cassidy time is coming to an end, or it probably already has, but it is what it is, and I appreciate what story they're trying to tell with him.
Yeah, good stuff. Happy to see Orange retain. I love him. Sounds like it was a great battle royale. So let's keep the great times rolling. Next up is Chris Jericho versus Adam Cole, and beloved Sabu made a appearance with Adam Cole. Baby, you're right, Steve. Sorry, I always forget to add that, but you always do, which is great. All right, so we were split on this match. Me and Charlie actually picked Adam Cole to win, but Gary and Steve did not, so they both dropped a point there. Did Sabu get hurt? Because I did not watch this pay-per-view. Was there ever a risk, or look like he did? How do you do?
You know, it's funny. Oh my God. It was one of those, like, when Arn walks down the ring and you're like, oh God, is he going to like break his hip? Sabu, like, kind of kept it safe, but then then all of a sudden they had tables set up, and I forget, I think it was one of 2.0 or both were on these tables, and he goes up to the top, no pause, looks like he starts falling, but then executes a flip and like lands on the table. And it was like, I went from like, oh shit, he's gonna die, to like, wow, goddamn if it didn't work. So I don't know if he planned it that way or just got lucky, but it was like
literally, like,
hilarious.
you're holding your breath. You're holding your breath watching this dude come through the air. You're like, no.
I don't think he plans a lot.
No, it was pretty hilarious.
To give a couple thoughts on this match, and talk a little bit about some of the spots in it. Sabu was awesome, surprisingly, just like Steve said. There was quite a few spots between Jericho and Adam Cole in this match that I thought, at least, and I'm happy to debate this with you guys, but I feel like there was a lot of miscommunication throughout the match, and you could really tell in some of the exchanges they had. Great example, Jericho goes for the lion salt, or the whatever they call it now, off the middle rope. Adam Cole does his usual, I'm going to super kick this guy upside down in midair while he's doing this, but I don't feel like Jericho was ready for it, and he kind of did it sort of at the last second. It just looked bad. There was some other spots too that just, I don't know, it was kind of the whole vibe of the match. At one point they handcuffed each other together with a chain, and it became like an impromptu chain match, as JR pointed out to everybody. And I don't know, like, just I felt like they did it, and then they went, okay, what spots are we going to do? Like, they wanted the visual of it, but then that was it. And so that happens. The match ends because Adam Cole kicks too much ass, and they just, had to call an unsanctioned match, which the crowd was not happy about. And I think we were talking a lot last night on the group thread, and Steve, maybe it was you, but somebody kept pointing out that the crowd was just dead. And I have to believe this match did not help. If anything, it took a dead crowd and made them completely silent, because they had a pretty good time, I think, with the Battle Royal. Like, okay, yeah, let's get this rolling. But then this match did them no favors. One thing I called out to the group last night, and this is the last thing I'll say about the match because I want to hear your thoughts as well, is Jericho in multiple interviews has talked a lot about how Vince McMahon put him and Kevin Owens on at WrestleMania in the second spot, which completely killed their Festival of Friendship feud several years back. And it just really chaps his ass, you can tell when you listen to these interviews. So to see Jericho go on second, I thought was pretty surprising. He's clearly got a ton of pull backstage. So either he had to take a backseat for some other reason, or he willingly went on second with Adam Cole. And just knowing how Jericho is when it comes to the second spot, I wonder if psychologically that had something to do with how this match went. But regardless, not the best showing from either of these two.
It was bad. Sorry. Like, I mean, I've been in athletics all my life. Last night watched the Heat Celtics, and the Celtics fans near the end of the game booed their team. And as much as you want to say right or wrong, like, they should have booed them. And you know what? The fans booed the end of this match, and they should have booed because it sucked. It was not a good match. Either they didn't practice enough, or they really didn't communicate much, but it felt like they both kind of went into the match thinking our personas are going to be bigger than anything we'll get through. And it was sloppy. It just didn't tell a really good story. And then it just kind of went at the end. And it was like, all this for that. And then, of course, a guy gets pummeled to his lights are out. And then a couple minutes later, he's in a segment with Saraya yelling and screaming how he's going to get revenge. Like that, I'm all for dispelling belief, but come on. Like he was knocked unconscious, and I don't know many UFC fighters that recover and have an interview. So I felt like that. I don't know what I'm guessing that segment was planned, but it almost maybe had to happen because of how crappy the match was. They had to do something. So the reason I picked Jericho to win was, and Steve, I think you were with me on this.
I did.
We felt like the feud has to keep going, but I just don't know where it goes from here, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, you guys said a lot of it. The only thing I'll add is that what's inexplicable to me is that Adam Cole's probably one of the best workers of the modern era. Chris Jericho's an all-time great, and even in his 50s, generally delivers every single time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the hell went wrong here because, Gary offered up some speculations, you both did. I don't know, but this was probably one of the lowlights of the whole show, which I think was, I overall thought it was a really good show, but this was not. Yeah, and the crowd, they lost the crowd, and it's easy to shit on the crowd because there were times it's like, why aren't you up more? But there was nothing in this match to be up more on, and they did the whole thing with the dog collar-esque thing at the end where they kind of are chained together, but that even inhibited them because Adam Cole did his thing at the end, and then he's like stumbling to get the damn thing off of his leg, and that just killed the moment. And
he couldn't get it wrapped around his leg.
I know. It was
so sloppy.
Considering these two, this is not the match I would think we'd be sitting here after the fact saying it was kind of junk, but it was junk. It was one of the worst matches on the show, if not the worst. And Aubrey Edwards, like doing the calling the match in an unsanctioned, inexcusable, and it's just a good thing that she paid the price for it later. Is all I'm gonna say.
I would wholeheartedly agree.
Whatever happened to her later on the show, which we'll talk about, was deserved.
Well deserved.
Yeah. Wow. But no, that's I echo what you guys said.
Yeah, the internet really didn't like it. It was very low grade. Maybe glad I didn't see it because I do love both of those competitors, and glad Sabu's okay though. I mean, he got his money, and I think that's what's most important here, folks. So let's not stray away from that.
Mike, I think that's the key. I love both characters a lot, and it just felt like they just didn't bring their very best, which is really unusual for them. I'm sure they did. I'm sure that but in the end, right, like that, I just had way higher expectations for the two of them and what they were trying to do with this program. And it almost felt like the beginning was just all thrown together, which I will say throughout the card, it just felt like there was just a lot of people thrown in for a lot of reasons just to get them on the card, which kind of detracted to some degree. And I wonder if that start of that match kind of detracted, and then they tried to rally to create a story, but just didn't work for me.
And I mean, with all the competitors in the battle royale, plus all these extra pieces, it's kind of like, give us something to focus on for real. And then they kept it going in the next match, which was FTR going up against Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett with Mark Briscoe as the referee. So a lot of moving parts here. The internet didn't quite like this one either, though. Was it kind of a bummer, or like what happened here?
I thought it was great.
Yeah,
but we're biased. At least Gary and I are biased. Anything Jeff Jarrett's involved. I thought this match was outstanding. I loved it.
Yeah, if I can predict what Matt's gonna think, because this is the very definition of old school, new school, a psychology of a match, because the Jarrett, that camp is Memphis wrestling, which is crazy, over the top, crazy shit happening everywhere. And it followed that pattern. And I, again, like Steve, loved it. Matt, I know, I'm sure you were like, what the hell?
No, I wasn't like, what the hell? I think the actual wrestling in this match was fine. I would say. There was nothing specific on it I honestly remember about it. I think when we started to get down near the end of the match, when the shenanigans started to kick in, I did start to get more into it. I do like a little bit of chaos, a little bit of old school, like just some might call it sports entertainment. Some might call it old school booking. It's somewhere in between. I don't know. But not to steal anyone else's thunder, because I do want to talk a little bit about the shenanigans. If you missed the match, go back and watch it. If you didn't miss it, you already know what's coming. Sanjay Dutt is like outside the ring trying to block Aubrey Edwards from coming down to referee, and he's just standing there with his hands on his hips, shaking his head, blocking her, which I just felt was like ridiculous. And thankfully Aubrey pushes him and knocks him down, which was like one of the most cathartic moments on the show, in my opinion.
No, it's the next moment.
Karen Jarrett steps in and smashes Aubrey Edwards with a guitar over the head.
This is way laser.
In that moment, I was thinking to myself, what she had to have been like, I want to get hit in the head with a guitar, or I want to take a bump as a ref. Like, and not just like, oh no, somebody accidentally elbowed me in the back and now I'm out cold for 30 minutes. No, like a real bump. So this looked scary, like the guitar shot to the head. But overall, I thought the shenanigans really helped the match. It was good. FTR, retains and life goes on.
So did Aubrey ref Jericho's match too?
She did.
No.
Yes.
Oh yeah, she did it Jericho's death. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
So
she came
did
out
2 in a row.
Well, no, she didn't ref this one. She came out to try to, because there was a ref.
Oh, gotcha.
Briscoe there was a ref bump with Briscoe. He got whacked and he was out.
Makes sense.
And so
I got confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too, and I watched it. It's okay.
Yeah.
No, my God, I think Gary and I both, it's the same thing. Like, I squealed loudly when she got hit with the guitar. I freaking loved it. I mean, I don't really have anything against Aubrey, but at the same time, I feel like sometimes they make her, she's getting like as a character, she's getting to be worse and worse of a referee, because like in the women's matches, she just misses every like interference and everything. And I disagree. She had no business coming down here. Sanjay Dutt, the great man that he is, was trying to right a wrong, and luckily Karen put the cherry on the sundae. I think what was also funny was like Jim Ross seemed like he was legit getting pissed at Sanjay Dutt, yelling at him, but I don't know, I assume he wasn't really mad, but it was hilarious. So he just started yelling at him, and it was I don't know, that cracked me up.
Yeah, this was the height of where I was JR's either drunk or stoned right now, because he was randomly just screaming at Sanjay Dutt during the match. But here's the thing though, just think about this for just a second though. We only got introduced to Karen Jarrett as an AEW community. We only got introduced to her within the last week. And on the way down to the ring, she went after a fan, and the heat just grew from there. Now, this is a performer who has not been on television very much, if had much in her career. But I mean, you guys, just the depth of which they can generate heat is just so amazing. Sanjay, and I know Sanjay, for whatever Sanjay, he's the same way. He's kind of like the Jimmy Hart of today. Like, he just gets under your skin and you just want to be like, oh, look at somebody's, but it's just
a little
Sanjay.
Weasel. Yeah.
I just love the character. I love what they're doing with that. They've got their place. Like that. They're the mid-card guys that are bringing heat, getting people over. And FTR didn't have to, thinking about all the FTR matches that they've had, this one was probably the least pro wrestling-esque match. But to be honest, like, I wonder to some extent if they too, are like, this is kind of nice not to have to take a bunch of spots and be in a bunch of spots and do their thing. Like, I mean, they kind of just got to be almost like in the back seat of the car, just letting those guys drive. I mean, I'll bet you to a lot of degree, there's just such a depth of respect with all of them that I'm sure they had a blast. I would imagine. I know people.
I would hope so.
I think people were really down on the match because they're like, oh, you've got these guys, you're the best wrestlers, and you guys. There was a story being told, and it was one of the few stories that truly, from the beginning to the end, you could kind of see the closure to the story. And I don't know. Again, I love old Memphis wrestling. I love the psychology behind it. So I mean, like, but when Karen Jarrett whacked Aubrey with that, there's no chance there was anyone on this podcast or in the universe that knew that was coming. Because when that happened, it came out of nowhere, and it was like you could just feel the whole thing. It was like, whoosh. And then all the
and for once the AEW cameramen didn't ruin something.
Oh, thank God! Yes, thank God. You're so right. They're still so bad at times, but yeah, I don't. For its purposes, it was a perfect mid card, mid card match for me.
Yeah. And it was for us too. We were perfect on that round of picks. We all picked FTR to win. So we all picked up a point there. Yay for us. To move along here, we go to the ladder match for the TNT Championship. It was Wardlow and Christian Cage facing off for the TNT Championship. So I knew it would bite me in the ass. I picked Christian. Steve picked Christian. Charlie picked Christian. I went against my guy, Wardlow. The only guy that did pick it was our boy Gary here. I'm glad Wardlow got his proper representation and love. So, Gary, yeah, what did you think of this match? Were you happy to see Michael Wardlow retain, and how was the match?
Well, I didn't like it either. Got a huge pop because of that swanton bomb off the ladder, but it was because of a spot, not because of him. And I think that was something the guys on What Culture talked about, which is he's not over. And that's the sad part. Like his character, his persona, like he needed Christian, who's again an brilliant heel. He needed Christian in that match to make it something. And he's not over, and it sucks. And I don't even know at this point what's next for him, other than I wonder to some extent if he needs a reboot, because he's just not over.
We're not working hard enough. I mean, if I'm not picking him in this match, I've always picked Wardlow against and that should be the sign of his status. If I don't pick the motherfucker, then he's in trouble.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. I don't know. It was hard. It was hard to watch because he's as much as Steve, you brought up Brian Cage. I think Brian Cage in that match 10 times better than what we just saw at Wardlow. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I agree.
I think the stuff that Brian Cage is doing is as or more athletic as a big man. And it, and then the whole arm biting Luchasaurus thumb and just like, I was like, what in the heck is going on right now? It's just all of it. So you go from the crazy Memphis kind of antics, and then you go to that, and it's like, but that just doesn't make any sense. And it just didn't work for me. I mean, I'm glad I picked it right, only because I think if they had sadly given it to Christian, Wardlow would be dead. But if anyone was being honest with themselves and is a booker or somebody making decisions at AEW and listen to the crowd, watch that match, they had to walk away being like, we got to do something because this isn't going to work anymore.
I have to agree 100%. One other spot in this match that stuck out to me that we didn't touch on was there was a moment where Wardlow jumped, I think it was from the turnbuckle, and landed on a ladder in the ring, and it torqued the ladder and twisted it. And then he and Christian kind of both went down, which fine, whatever. I mean, things happen. But then he's alone in the ring. He goes to climb for the belt, and he grabs the twisted ladder, and you can hear the crowd as he's grabbing the crappy ladder. The crowd is like basically telling him, no, don't use that ladder, go for the other one. And I know everybody in the crowd, and he's just flat out ignoring everybody. So he comes off looking like an idiot, and he gets so frustrated, you can tell, when he can't climb this ladder, and he just tries to do it anyway. He kind of chucks it away, and you could tell the crowd just kind of threw their arms up like, Jesus, what is happening here? It was almost kind of embarrassing to watch. And, the swanton bomb off the top of the ladder on the outside, that is always cool. That's always going to get a pop, especially when it's a guy the size of Wardlow. That was something unique. But kind of like you said in the beginning, Gary, Wardlow's, unfortunately, he's not over as nearly as much as he used to be, if anything. So I really hope AEW takes a step back and figures out what they want to do with this guy. I think there's going to be some big changes coming in AEW here in the near term, because if you think about Wembley, they got to do some big stuff to sell tickets for that show. And if they're ever going to go back there or make it work the way they're hoping it will, they're going to have some big matches. And this is not one of them.
Totally. Yeah, I know. I mean, you guys said it all. The only things I would add is that I don't know. I don't know how the hell they've done wrong by Wardlow. I mean, like when you look, I mean, I think I said, and I know some of you probably did as well, when he was doing the build up while still under MJF, some of to me, the best storyline writing in AEW is patient, long term. And it was like, dude, you can't miss with him. And then pretty much everything that's happened since then, they haven't done right by him. And part of it's him. I mean, he's not, I mean, I hate to, Charlie has a point where he just doesn't have the charisma. And I think maybe it was a mistake to make him a good guy. I mean, I know people like him, but it's like he's just boring. And putting Arn, I'm sorry, I'm a big Arn fan, but it's not working. Arn is like kind of a shadow of his former self. I mean, I said to you guys, like when he was sitting there getting grabbed by what was it, Luchasaurus, I even said out loud, like, what's he got in his mouth? Because he looked like he was like, I actually thought he was going to spray mist in his eye as some homage to Great Muta. But no, it was a blood packet because he decided to try to bite off Luchasaurus's claw or finger, whatever a dinosaur has. It was stupid. It was weird. It's like, yeah, not even stupid. It was like, what the hell what is he doing? Like the Mike Tyson thing, or like, I don't know. It was very weird. And one swanton can't, I mean, it was all Wardlow had going for him. And I mean, hell, that's the Shane McMahon thing. Just, it's just all about one spot. It's thing, and it's just meh.
It's sad because Mike, I know that he's one of your faves, but he really needs, he's on life support.
I've been trying. I've been singing his praises for 3 years, and if people, I mean, the nice thing is he might come on our show if he is falling this far, but I don't. And speaking of falling, pairing him with Arn, I don't think is going to boost his stock because look at the guy.
Yeah.
I'm fine with him just joining up with Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal at this point. I don't give a shit. Give him something good, and I thought him with Christian might have been great. And that's what I mean. I'd rather see him lose the title in a really, really good match than to win. And it sounded like he was fucking up in this match, so did not help his case. So that's unfortunate. But
I hope Matt's right. I hope with Collision and with the Wembley show and all that, and these promises of a new AEW in June, I hope they figure out some ways to kind of inject some life into someone like him.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but it worked out for Gary. He swept that. So Gary is playing the game correctly. Not only did he get the honor of going last, but he swooped in at a very pivotal point, which is great. Steve played the game very good on this match, too. He effectively used his kick out after hearing all of our input about this match. AEW World Women's Championship, Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm. Jamie Hayter dropped the belt. And I was looking at the notes, and it looked like it only lasted like 4 minutes or something like that. Is that true?
The match itself. Yeah, there was a beatdown. I mean, the big thing here is that Jamie Hayter's legitimately injured, and obviously, in hindsight or in foresight, depending on what you read, they were just trying to get the belt off of her. Yeah,
they had more time, but they rang the bell, and it only lasted 4 minutes. Is what it sounds like.
Because they just had like this beat down before the match where she was getting beat down by the whole Outcast group, and then she's still like the heroic but stupid face that like just got the shit kicked out of him. But no, I can continue with the match even though she was like beat to hell. But but they did all that just to switch the title.
I hear that.
Would anyone ever find what they did acceptable for the men's world championship?
I heard the What Culture guys say the exact same thing, and the short answer is no. It's definitely treated as like a undercard belt, even at its highest peak. The thing I thought about when we saw this match is we've seen Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter before. When Jamie Hayter first won the belt off of her, that was probably my favorite AEW women's match ever.
Mm-hmm.
It was so hard hitting. It felt important. I think that's the best compliment I can give it. This match, I mean, this could have been on for the TBS title on Dynamite, and it would have been like, okay, whatever, what's next?
Yeah, and I understand. I mean, the match itself couldn't have probably been good because Jamie Hayter's beat up, but I still think the way they went about it was just really kind of clumsy and too much.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, right? Like, and I think I read this in a couple places, but lots of people had a lot of respect for Jamie Hayter for even showing up that night and
Right.
in the ring and doing what she did. But it would have been way better served had she just took the pin or submission right away. The whole, like, I'm going to battle back a little bit, but then, I would have just, I mean, honestly, it would have been way more impactful for her to have the pre-match beatdown, come in the match, say, yes, I can go, and then get just waylaid and be done. Like, in a lot of ways, that to me would have been more realistic of a look of way you did it, and I think would have been better than what they did, which they tried to like give her a chance to make a comeback, but it really wasn't. I wish
It wasn't done great.
I just don't think it was done very well.
I think the other one last thing on this is like, to me, is just one of my frustrations with AEW women's wrestling is that, I mean, first of all, they have a great roster. Like, I stand by my belief for some time now that I feel like the women's roster in AEW is better than WWE's. I think they have more talent top to bottom than a WWE does. However, they do the same damn storyline every time. Okay, when Britt Baker was a champ, she had her entourage come out, interfere in every single match, and the baby faces were too stupid to have anybody come down with them. Jade Cargill, for the longest time, same thing. She had her buddies come out. It's like that's the only thing they can do with a heel woman is she comes out with 2-3 people, and the face is stupid and comes out by themselves. And I don't know. It's like, come on, you're paying people to write this division. You come up with something.
Well, so far, I think every match on the card, with the exception of the Battle Royal, which was kind of set up to be chaotic, there's been a run-in or something going on in every one of the matches, which in some cases proved to be good, and in other cases, it's like, wow, this is just. There's just a lot going on, and to some degree, maybe moving away from what makes them really good, and that's some of the wrestling. Although it does come back later in the show to some degree, but definitely, you're right, Steve. It's almost as if they don't believe that their women can actually have a really good match.
To go along with the women's match, like you said, Gary, we did have Taya Valkyrie versus Jade Cargill, and we all picked Jade. We just didn't think Taya was going to have this taken off. We were saving it for probably a different match. But I was reading the notes, and Chris Statlander is back. What happened here?
This was probably my favorite moment on the whole pay-per-view because Steve and I don't think it's any secret to the longtime listeners, we're both big fans of Chris Statlander. And she's been out with an injury for, God, it feels like forever, well over a year at this point. And there's been rumors, like even back when Jade was like wrestling for 30-0, there was rumors that Chris Statlander was going to be the one to take it off of her, and she was still gone at the time. So hats off to AEW for actually holding out on this one, because they got two really cool things out of this. They got Jade Cargill to have a record that will be memorable, and at the same time, Chris Statlander comes back and kind of a shock surprise at a pay-per-view. It's very WWE of them to have a match right after the match where she wins in like a minute or so. But you know what? We've waited long enough. That's what we want. Like, just give her the belt, and we'll see her on Wednesday, hopefully. I'm curious who she's going to defend it against and what kind of ring shape she's in at this point. She looked good in the ring against Jade. Like, she took a couple of Jade's moves and recovered in a way that most pro wrestlers would, you would think, versus just being dead from a big boot to the face or something like that. So it was really cool to see that. I feel like the crowd didn't really know who was coming out for a minute because her music sounded a little bit generic to some extent. Yeah. So there was a good minute, even I didn't know. And then they showed, and it took a minute because they had to zoom in. And, you know, I'm I might be younger than you guys, but I'm no spring chicken. And I was squinting at the screen, and once I realized who it was, I was like, "Oh my gosh, Chris Statlander's back! This is awesome!" Because she had just posted something on Instagram, hanging out at home. Totally worked me. Yeah, the Jade match was good. It was definitely better than Tony versus. God, I'm having a complete mental block here on who the actual champ was. Jamie Hayter.
Hayter.
Yeah. But yeah, this match was good. It was probably Jade's best match, I would argue. And then, Taya obviously is really good too. And then you bring in Chris Statlander. The crowd definitely came up for this one. Loved it.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of nice for a crowd that kind of had their off moments. They were like into this match, like the whole match, which was cool. I mean, it kind of heightened it. And Valkyrie's she's a pro, and like Jade, yeah, I think it all worked out. And yeah, you could quibble that like it was very WWE-ish to have her come and win the title, but I'm good with it because I mean, hell, you never know when Statlander's gonna get hurt again. So maybe just give her the damn title. And I think it's admirable. I think this felt for me from day one the plan that Statlander was going to be the one to win to beat her, and they held on, and even at the expense of Jade and kind of dragging this damn thing out, and it felt like it was dragged out. But man, Statlander got her moment, and I'm all for it.
How'd she look, Statlander?
Great. Yeah, she's slimmed out. I mean, if you follow her on Instagram, you kind of see her like training and stuff, but she's in good shape. She's been working hard.
Oh, yeah. I'd expect nothing less. Just checking to see if there's any differences coming back from the injury. I know she's been bit with the injury bug, and it's really unfortunate, but I'm happy to see that she is our new TBS Women's Champion. And we all got the point on that. We weren't expecting Chris Statlander to win, but it wasn't really a match, so we still gained a point, and we don't need to make it complicated, yada, yada. So let's just keep it how it is. So we can keep it moving to the match that has been gotten a lot of build up leading up to Double or Nothing. It's the 4-way match for the AEW World Championship. Current champ MJF versus Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry. We had all picked MJF to win, but there was one stipulation that we want to know who MJF would pin to get the win. None of us actually picked it correctly. Charlie picked Jungle Boy. We all picked Sammy Guevara, but in fact, it was Darby Allin that got picked. So how was this match? I've got to think it was amazing, yeah?
It was definitely, I would argue, the best pure match of the night. This is what you would expect from AEW, which is great. They're the 4 pillars. They should be the ones to put on this type of match, and they did. I think in the group thread, we were talking about this a little bit, and what made this match unique, and Mike, if you do go back and watch this, I think one thing you're going to notice, most 4-way matches end up with pair of wrestlers in the ring who wrestle. The other 2 guys kind of wait on the outside, pretend like they're injured, wait for their spot to come back in. This match, they found so many ways to have all 4 guys wrestling at the same time in some way that at times was a little bit like, okay, come on. But it was so entertaining when it happened too. The strangest thing I thought in this match, and you guys feel free to chime in on this, is I actually felt like Sammy Guevara might have a chance at becoming a babyface. And I don't know if it's because he and Ty Conti announced that they're going to be having a baby before the start of the match. Sammy did his whole cue card gimmick to make the announcement. And it got the crowd on his side. And then during the match, whenever he'd have a big spot, the crowd would actually cheer and not follow it up with "You Still Suck," which has been kind of what he's had to deal with for the last year or two. So he had some really good moments in this match. Jungle Boy was there. He had a couple spots, I think, that were really good. I mean, it was fine. Darby Allin, I mean, that guy's insane. He always does cool stuff. MJF had some really creative FU spots, I'll call them, during the match, like poking the 3 other guys in the eyes all in a row and then flipping off the crowd immediately after. Loved it. And so did the crowd. Like, they actually cheered for being flipped off. Like, how good is that? So yeah, overall it was a really good match. I think it went a little long maybe for what it was, but I honestly didn't even care. I was having so much fun with this one. This was probably, for me, I would say probably the best like wrestling match of the night.
I'm with you, man. We talked earlier about what didn't work for Jericho and Cole, which looked like a lot of miscommunication. This match like, holy cow, like the spots they did, if they had made a mistake, could have really hurt somebody because of the way they were all intertwined together. And I thought they were brilliant. They did a masterful job. I could not even imagine the amount of cardiovascular endurance and strength that these guys have had to be able to do all that, because the four of them wrestled for a good 20 some minutes, 20, 25 minutes. And in doing all the things that they were doing, there weren't a lot of rest holds. There wasn't a ton of shenanigans. It was pretty cool to watch. And you can see why everyone's so high on them, but you can also see why MJF's the champ. And after it was over, you could clearly see he is the better of the three in terms of character development, in terms of persona, in terms of the things that he does. But I'll end with, it was interesting in this match, the amount of colorful language that the guys were using, that they were allowing to come through the mic, which made me laugh every time. Because when you think about, like, Darby Allin got smacked and he's like, oh, and like he drops something, like as he gets caught in a movie, he's like, oh, it would be exactly what would happen in real life, you're like, and so I did think that some of that was really good. And Billy Gunn also, to his credit, he dropped a couple of huge, great zingers right before he got pinned. But all in all, I thought, you can see why MJF's where he's at. You can also see why the other three are quite not there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not much to add here. I would agree. It was one of the best matches on the show, if not the best. I was lukewarm to the feud, but man, those guys delivered. It was so good. And I mean, I think, yeah, the right person went over for all the reasons you said. But yeah, no, I agree though. Sammy like almost approached respect from the crowd, which they could do something with. I mean, and hell, make real life part of it. Maybe about to be a dad, he starts having a conscience and he starts breaking away from JAS. They could, with very careful writing, make it work. But man, yeah, I guess that's all I can say on that, because I never thought we'd be there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to see MJF retain. I never, he's must-see TV in my opinion. Anytime he's on, you focus in, and I love that he's got the gold around his waist. So, we got to get to the last match on the card here. It was Anarchy in the Arena. It was the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club. We had all picked the Elite to win, except for one man, Gary Williams. He liked to pick Blackpool Combat Club in this for reasons that you'll have to check out on the prediction show. But I'm reading the reviews of this, and it sounds like it was kind of close to like a deathmatch style, because Anarchy in the Arena, it's kind of more fun, a little creative, a little quirky in moments, but it sounded pretty brutal. What happened here, Matt? I know you're a big deathmatch guy.
I'm a huge deathmatch guy. I don't know. I wouldn't say this match went to those lengths. There was definitely some crazy spots in this. I feel bad saying it, but I feel like I've been desensitized to a lot of this stuff because of AEW. Like, for example, there was a great spot, would have been great 2 years ago for sure, but there was a spot where Kenny Omega, John Moxley are up near the stage fighting, and there's the Double or Nothing poker chip prop set up on the floor somewhere. They knock it over, and it's revealed that the backside of the poker chip has barbed wire all over it. So they start suplexing each other onto the barbed wire on the floor. 2 years ago, I would have been like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen. Now I'm like, oh yeah, they did that on Dynamite multiple times. So like I said, I don't really know. The one cool thing I think they did differently about this match versus the original Anarchy in the Arena, well, number one, Bryan Danielson did not get injured, so that's good. Number two, there was a live band playing Wild Thing when the Blackpool Combat Club came out, and the Young Bucks, partway through the match, I think they played the song like 3 times in a row.
I think so.
Yeah, the Young Bucks got sick of it. They go up, super kick the singer, both at the same time in the face, and then the band stops playing. So we did get an end to the music, which I thought was great. You could go either way. The music could play the whole time. Some people like that. I think it would be a little bit too much. You kind of get the best of both worlds with this. So I thought that was really interesting. There were so many crazy spots. The only other spot that really sticks out in my mind was Claudio Castagnoli pile driving one of the Young Bucks in the bed of a pickup truck outside the arena. Just, I don't know, crazy stuff, right? Fighting in the concession area, I always love that because I dream of being at a show where I'm out getting a beer or grabbing my wife something to eat, and all of a sudden, here comes Chris Jericho like through a table. I'd be like, oh, this is crazy. So overall, I thought it was a lot of fun. One of the Jacksons had an exploding shoe.
Oh, that was my favorite moment.
Craziest moment of the whole match. Yeah, and then at the end we get the big twist, which I won't steal all the thunder. Overall, though, it was a pretty good match. Definitely worth going and watching. It was really long, I thought, almost too long to some extent, but the ending definitely made it worth it, which I'll let Steve or Gary get into.
Yeah, I mean, it's just AEW storytelling when they're patient and they drop little hints along the way that I just love. Because for those of you that remember, amidst this feud kind of budding, all of a sudden Don Callis started bringing in Takeshita or trying to recruit him, and it was like just kind of, and then he came in and I think teamed with Kenny Omega once when the Bucks were hurt, or one of the Bucks was hurt, and then they kind of dropped it for a while. And then Don Callis did his heinous heel turn, or I guess double heel turn, because he was he was never a good guy. But yeah, but then what happens at the end of this match? Kenny's kind of taking charge, and a masked man comes in, and it's Takeshita, and he turns heel. This kind of beloved character. Like, he's young, but the fans have been really behind him. So it was a surprise turn, but yet they've been dropping these seeds that Callis has been working his evil, sinister magic on him all this time. And now I don't know. But the other thing that's interesting is this whole time that Don Callis has been involved, they have not overtly said he's part of the Blackpool Combat Club. And a couple days ago, the interactions were very separate. So it's like he's got Takeshita, but are they part of the Blackpool Combat Club? It's not clear. So I don't know. It's like these stories within stories. It's pretty damn fun.
A couple of things to add. One, I thought it was really cool that they allowed Wheeler Yuta to get the final pin.
Yes.
Just further trying to cement him. So you think about the Four Pillars match before that one, and then in the main event, like the main event, Wheeler Yuta gets the pin over Kenny Omega. If they're really trying hard with him, I think it has a chance to work. Yuta's a terror. I don't think his promos are very good, so that's a struggle for him. But I do think that there's really something to be said about that. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up is, and I'm not sure some of you maybe are aware or not aware of the media scrum that happens after AEW shows. I think WWE's kind of taken it on. The first and the last interviews were awesome. The first one was with MJF, and he balances kayfabe with realism, and he just kind of like goes back and forth. You can't tell. You can't tell. I mean, he calls a reporter a diabetic fat guy in the media scrum. So I mean, like, he's in character, but then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he'll jump out of character. But the last interview was Bryan Danielson, and it was completely out of character. So it was him speaking about his AEW experience and just the things. Awesome interview. Totally urge anyone listening to listen to that last part, because it really gives you a behind the scenes realization of, one, how thoughtful he is and why he's in AEW. Two, how much he likes it. Three, how much he loves those anarchy in the arena type matches. He's like, I love brawling. We love to brawl. To us, this was the greatest thing, to be with the fans and to wrestle the way we did. And then he also talks about his relationship with Daniel Garcia, Wheeler Yuta, like just his ability to start to bring some of these guys on. So, but really good end to the show. I stand by my pick, which I did get correct, which was I don't think in any way, shape, or form Kenny Omega and those guys, you give them all the credit in the world, their ability to put over talent. You can say anything about their egos, say anything about this. Omega wins pretty much most of the time. Hangman, yeah, give or take. The Young Bucks sometimes, but they put over a lot of guys, and nothing impacts their like Teflon. So cool end to the show.
Nice. Yeah. Well, maybe we should wrap up the records, but what would be your overall grade for this AEW Double or Nothing, fellas?
I think I'd give this one a B minus. I think I don't want to give it a C. I'm on the verge of a C plus, somewhere between that and a B minus. AEW could do a lot better. I think we talked about it being a fun show, and it was. I think when you start to actually pick apart the matches, there's so many holes in all of them. I mean, we gave a million examples tonight. Hopefully, over the next couple months, Tony Khan talking about the new AEW, hopefully that all pays off. I would love to get that feeling back that we had in 2019, even 2021, 2022. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, overall, I'm going to give it a B minus. It could definitely be a lot better. I think most matches could have been a lot better. Thankfully, they ended on a high note, which, kind of left a, positive frame in my mind, I guess. But yeah, I'll probably never watch this again.
I'd give it a BB plus. I think only because I'm waiting the last two matches plus the battle royal and stuff. I mean, Matt brought up a very good point. I think we've gotten used to a very high standard. Even when the builds haven't been outstanding, AEW's always delivered on pay-per-views. This is the first one that felt like it didn't fully deliver. So it's like you got to hold them to that standard. It's like when you've set the excellence up here and you get down here, it's worth noting. But was I entertained? Yes. Did I enjoy it? Yes. I'm an AEW mark, and I don't, because I don't watch WWE or anything else. It's like I'm invested. I want them to do well. So I mean, I guess to that being said, I hope that this is the summer of AEW where they kind of get back a little bit of that magic where they could do no wrong.
C plus for me. Maybe because I've always been a tough grader, but to me the good was really good and the bad was really bad, and it just was too dichotomous in some ways for me, for me to give it a better grade than that. Again, though, I was very entertained and I really enjoyed many of this show, but many matches on the show. But there were so many where I was like, what are we doing? What is going on here? And we joked about it, but the JR thing also just kind of irritated me, to be honest, the whole first half of the show. I mean, you had no idea. I will say, if you listen to the commentary between the three guys, they are so much different than a WWE, much more scripted, the way they announce. Those guys crack each other up by saying some of the craziest stuff. But JR, he was all over the place and was kind of distracting for me for the first half. So, I mean, that also plays a little bit into my grade.
Yeah, there's legal weed out there in Las Vegas. And I think because it's not in like a town, like that's why I think All Out is like the WrestleMania, because Chicago is such a wrestling town. Vegas isn't known to be that, so you get a lot of people from out of town. It's almost like a tourist show rather than an actual like build up. So I don't know. I just think it has a different vibe. Plus, I bet the wrestlers are maybe a little distracted when they're out there too. They're probably partying it up, maybe not in their top form. So I mean, shout out to the Vegas Golden Knights. That's how they've been doing so well.
Hell
in
yeah.
the Stanley Cup, because every team that goes out there, those players are partying it up, and they call it the Vegas flu. So I don't know. That's what it sounds like from your comments this evening. They're all great, and I don't know if I'll be buying this one. I'm kind of glad reading about it and hearing from you guys, because you guys are pros. So let's get to the records here. I continue my downward spiral in the prediction shows. During hockey season, I do get a little dialed back. New dad, all that stuff, sleep deprivation. My brain's crazy right now. it's a 6-7 record for me, so below that 500 is not good. But then our current champ was right behind with a 7-6 record, Steve Grobschmidt. So he will not be retaining. So it comes down to two. Charlie, who is not with us, and new champion is Gary Williams. That's great, Gary. Wow, coming in strong.
Definitely a heel champion.
Yeah, definitely.
This is the fall of Keep the Kayfabe.
Let me tell you something, brother.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
He's not a humble first-time champion, that's for sure. But congratulations, Gary. You did play the game very well. You got to pick last. You swooped in when we all picked one thing, and we're the only man to do it. And that's how you got that 9-4 record over Charlie, who had an 8-5 record. So really, it was that Blackpool Combat Club pick and the Michael Wardlow pick that really got it done for you. So congratulations. Anything to say for the people out there listening?
I just want to thank all the little people, especially Steve, for his consistent mediocrity. Even though he was winning before, truly, to be honest, he uses more kickouts than anyone else. And so, not to bring it up or anything, but you kicked out and no one else did. So.
Like I said,
they booked it wrong.
Epic heel promo from Gary. The only thing was missing was each and every one of you people. But you know what? I'll take it.
They booked it wrong.
All you Wisconsinites, I'm looking out at this crowd right now, and all I see is a bunch of cheeseheads.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, you know what I love out there in Ohio are those Buckeyes, those chocolate peanut butter things.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I get those gifted to me every once in a while, and I literally eat the whole, whatever it is, the whole tin every single time. So
next time I'm back for work, I'll make a special trip up to the MKE and bring y'all some, and we can have a couple Diet Pepsis and talk some wrestling.
Oh man, that would be
enjoy
incredible.
Crusher Fest. I'm sad I won't be there, but I think you guys are going to do an amazing job at it, and I hope you enjoy that experience, and I hope the fans do as well.
Thanks. I think we will do an amazing job too.
I can't help, speaking of, we got to find inside of us to do a great job. And also what you said about the Vegas, I'm just wondering, like the Golden Knights, I'm wondering, Mike, what do you think that X factor is that helped them get to the Stanley Cup second time in 6 years? That
helped me win and you
and
lose.
maybe help Gary luck into a King Booker.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, lots of times you have to do certain things, be a certain way, be a certain character to reach the stardom, highest precipice of championship. And it's something that we like to preach and yell from the mountaintops for all to hear, because we want all of you to go forward, to stay humble, to stay hungry, and to stay hard.
Oh, Triple H.
Woo!